Okay, now it's my pleasure to call on our eldest son, Sigi, who also wants to say a few words about his mum and to his mum.
My speech starts in Port Elizabeth in 1962. I was the firstborn child of Diane Cohen, a 21-year-old Elizabeth Taylor lookalike. I emerged into this chaotic world searching for a teat, but eventually finding a bottle of baby formula. With this, I had to remain content until I was weaned off the bottle and onto steak and chips, which I ate for the remainder of my childhood. For me, life with my new mom, before Rachel came along, was pretty good. I crawled around, pinching myself and saying, I am one lucky baby. Although to my mom, this would have sounded like gurgling noises and presented as wet burps. My mother and I share many qualities. Like me, she is shy and retiring. Doesn't talk much in public and tends to avoid being in the spotlight. Seriously though, I may be chalk to her cheese, but all three sons have inherited the urge to be creative and possess a great goodness and kindness of spirit. In fact, I sport a tattoo on my back with the words, I love me mum. Inspiring and incandescent would be two adjectives I'd use to describe my mother, who has been no less to me than an icon of motherly love and brilliant creative energy. I can't remember an occasion when she didn't embrace art and motherhood, and all of this within a cloud of cigarette smoke. Of course, apart from the fact that I grew up a passive smoker, if it wasn't for my mom, I would not have become the well-adjusted, civilized, good-looking, and thoroughly modest son that I am. And when I say I'm well-adjusted, I refer to the moral code and kindness that has been passed on and my general lack of homicidal tendencies. My mother was always progressive and ahead of her time. In 1973, she used to drag me, mortified, to her unisex hairdresser when all of my friends went to male-only barbers. At home, she would daringly watch banned adult-only movies with her friends. Movies like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier. She used to learn jazz piano and became adept at playing the first verse of Lullaby of Birdland. Over and over and over. This tune stuck in my head for 4 years. Stuck in my head now. Diane's mother, Frieda's family, was from Lithuania, and her father, Sigi's side, came from Austria. I never knew Sigi Hallis. Tragically, he died when my mum was a teenager. Frieda was a wonderful influence on my life and the most positive person I have ever met, I've ever known, and I believe she passed on her great kindness, empathy, charity, and pure wholesome goodness with added fibre to my mum. The added fibre came in the form of Frieda's stewed prunes. Rachel and Yaron came along in due course and made similar claims on my mother's mothering talent. Rachel developed middle child syndrome, and Yaron was groomed to become a musical prodigy. My mum was a resounding success with her highly creative musical shows. Yaron was to start his performing career in her show Baba the Elephant, and as David in Heavens Above. Why, it seems like yesterday when I heard him singing, Marina, I've just lost a lamb called Marina. Nobody who was around 20 years ago or more could forget the hilarious Les Miserables, a show that highlighted how and why South African migrants in the 1980s and 90s tended to whine even more than whinging Poms, in fact, even more than Sri Lankan boat people. And then came Adam's Family and All That Jazz, a punny musical on biblical tales. For all her biblical irreverence, the Lord retaliated 18 years ago when he smote Diane, causing her to have a heart attack and to quit smoking for good. The whole family breathed a sigh of fresh air. Mom's warm, generous heart has persevered to this day, seeing her reach the 70th milestone. Has anyone heard that 70 is the new 60? I haven't, but it sounds good anyway. We've always been a close family. Who would have known that 30 years later, a fourth sibling would compete for my mom's affection and carve out an enduring place in her heart? I refer, of course, to Shubi. I would have to say that the anthropomorphism of Shubi is further evidence that the sorrows of empty nest syndrome can be mitigated by the love for a big bushy animal. After all, what would 44 Noranda Avenue be without Shubi? It would be that red brick house with all those weird coloured tiles in the floor. Here's a little poem about Diane. Her leg of lambs to die for, her kneidels I'd geschrei for, her granddaughter she loves to buy for, weight loss she'll always try for. Her art she has an eye for, there's no one she is shy for. Her jewellery is to vie for, her family to stick by for, and last but not least, her worlds of kindness and love, never to run dry for. Well, now I've come to the end of the speech. I've tried to avoid schmaltz because nobody needs the cholesterol, and at the same time pay tribute to the matriarch of the family who has made me and my brothers what we are today. We may not be perfect, who is, but we've always been loved unconditionally, children and grandchildren, and that is Diane's greatest gift and legacy.